Hello and welcome to RSA Conference 2024 live stream. Here at the Moscone in San Francisco, I'm Jameson Cush with Tech Target Editorial and Ion Tech. And if you watched our channel over the past 4 years, the person next to me needs no introduction, but I'll do that anyway. Sabrina Polin, welcome.
Thank you, Jameson, happy to be here.
So we're here at RSA Conference 2024, 45,000 cybersecurity professionals, practitioners, and experts, and it's early Monday morning. I thought we'd jump in, get really into the weeds, talk cybersecurity architecture with our guests, Dmitry and Evgeniy. You know them as the hosts of the Security Architecture podcast, correct?
Thank you, we're very happy to be here today, and we are the host of Security Architecture podcast.
Excellent, so you've been going on with this podcast now, what, 5 years, I think? Which is like a lifetime.
5 years right before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. It's kind of started the idea before the pandemic, and right when the pandemic hit, we went live pretty much like a month after.
Was it anything with the pandemic? Were you just bored and you wanted to get out there?
I think it just aligned, the start aligned to the same level. We were thinking about this for a couple of months, and we were trying to understand what we can do differently. Mm-hmm. And during this time was already many shows that doing news, malware, what's happening with new in the vendor, and I'm an architect by trade. Dmitry is?
Software architect and CTO of a company, of a startup.
So we were thinking, okay, we're working with many customers buying solutions. You're coming back 6 months after, and you see it's not deployed, or it's on a shelf somewhere, or they're not happy with it. So what if we create a show so something else? We actually understand and ask vendor the questions that we think the customer should ask the vendors. So we created a list of questions, and we were thinking, what should we do? I spent a lot of time in network security and firewalls, and Dmitry was thinking, okay, but now we're kind of working from anywhere right now. We can go, we can fly, and we started and decided that we'll take care and cover the security web gateway part, that's part of SASE, Secure Access Service Edge. And I'm not really sure how, but during the pandemic, or in the beginning of the pandemic, this was the most anticipated part people want to solve. How do I actually protect users from home? How I give them remote access from home? So it's all aligned well.
Yeah. And has that changed since we were a couple years past the pandemic now? Is there still that focus on needing to secure people remotely and at home?
So a couple of things to mention about the show. What we decided to do is we'll do seasons. Dmitry like to say like Netflix, one day maybe on Netflix, but we'll basically create questions, like 8 questions, and we'll go to every vendor in a space and ask them the same questions. Yeah. Instead of, oh, show me your demo, show me your best part. This is forcing vendors to say, oh, it's not working for me like this, or we're not covering this feature. Mm-hmm. So every season will cover a different topic. Mm-hmm. We have 5 seasons right now. First one is SASE, Secure Web Gateway. Season 2 is, again, SASE, but remote access. Very, very still important part. Right. Season 3 we did about application security, that I'm sure Dmitry would love to talk about it and why we did it.
Yeah, it was a great season because this topic started becoming very important in the world, and companies wanted to secure their products for their customers, and we decided that there is such a variety of different vendors that we want to put light and put some focus on that issue. And it was really fun season. It was kind of, for you, it was outside of your comfort zone.
I learned a lot during the season, right? Yes.
But you said it was a fun season, and we're talking security architecture.
Right.
Now, with security, there's a lot of like sexy topics, right? Of ransomware, topics that break into the mainstream, and big hacks and things like that. So why focus on, what made you want to focus on something like security architecture? Like, as I described it, the weeds.
So a couple of things. Why to start another show when you have already 10 amazing shows that you think doing an amazing job and you're actually listening to them? So this is one. 2, this is something that's dear to our heart. Like, we're architects, we're working with customers, we wanted to cover some things that we think are going to help people from different way. Because people, in my belief, need to buy solutions that are going to fit their environment and not the way a vendor wants to sell it to them. So it aligned to our vision, it aligned to being a bit different than everybody else as well.
I want to add something. As part of the pandemic, right? I mean, everybody were in type of lockdowns at home, and there were no conferences, there were no events. You couldn't go anywhere to learn, to get new information, new material, to hear about new things, new trends, right? and especially like, hey, what kind of solutions are there? How you implement these solutions, right? There's a lot of companies, and we know many cybersecurity companies, right? I mean, they selling their solutions, the buyers are buying, then they don't implement them fully, and then it becomes a shelfware.
What's your favorite expression from Schneider?
Security theater. I mean, really, like, security theater was the base of our podcast. Like, when we started, we said, like, hey, we want to help companies to avoid the situation of security theater where they're buying solutions just for the sake of feeling well, but they don't contribute in any way for their security, for the real security posture, right? And that's kind of what kicked off everything for us.
Yeah, there is an expression, or not expression, there is basically a term called RFI and RFP in cybersecurity. RFI, request for information, RFP, request for proposal. So the idea is that the company will go to different vendors. We're going to ask them the same questions to understand what they're doing. So think about the show is we're helping the customers to do an RFI even before they're doing the RFI.
Mini RFI.
Okay. Mini RFI, yeah, of course. We're not covering 50,000 questions, we're covering 8 or 10, but when they go and let's say want to buy a glass of water, they're going to understand what questions they should ask the customer, the vendor. And we spoke with many CIOs, architects, managers, CISOs. Like, I look on your show and I understand what to ask. There is no, excuse my friends, bullshit. There is no marketing. It's basically how it's working, why it's working, and you're not afraid to bring the vendor back to the topic and not go and tell about the stars, how they aligned and stuff like that.
Right.
The beautiful world, yeah. That's, I think, we get really great responses from security practitioners about the show because it saves them time, right? They were told to investigate some specific topic, right? Like secure web gateway. And they don't know where to start. They would go to our podcast, they will watch 5, 6 episodes. They can now understand the topic. They also understand who are the vendors in one place. So they know where to go and how to kind of, start their journey of crawl, walk, run approach.
I think one of the interesting, I don't know if it's a highlight, but it was a revolution to us. A friend of ours wanted to join a company. And the company told him, here's the material you need to watch before you join the company. I don't want to mention the names of the vendor, but he's like, hey guys, check it out. As part of my curriculum is watch your podcast.
Oh, right.
We're like, okay, this is interesting.
So how do you manage that relationship with the vendors and keep it from becoming a commercial, your podcast, from becoming a commercial for them?
It's still a commercial because they're showing with the product. I don't think there's anything bad about it, but we give them questions and they know the questions in advance. And they cannot really change the questions. If it's a part of the season, we have another offering called Launchpad where we can cover one vendor or whatever they want. But if you're part of the season, you really have the 8 questions, the 9 questions, and you cannot do anything else. We do leave time in the end of the show for open discussion. And this is their time to say what else they do, for example. But because they know they need to answer these questions, and we're doing our best to bring them back to the topics, then it's not very a commercial, it's not very a demo, it's not pushing down your throat what we do best, it's you need to answer this. And one part that we think it's very important, and Dmitry is the one that's usually pushing for this, is don't just tell me how it's working, show me as well. Show me the UI, show me the report, show me the feature. Tell me it's real, don't just tell me it's there.
Right.
Yeah, and we had a few vendors where we just had a discussion, right? And we kind of asking these technical questions, and some of them just, hey, like, let me show you how it's done. Like, and you remember one of the vendors, for secure remote connectivity, we're like, okay, what happens if your connection has been interrupted, right? I mean, you're traveling or you're switching networks. Do you need to reconnect or something? He's like, no, let me show you. And he switches with us on a Zoom call. During the recording, he's switching from his Wi-Fi to his mobile, and like you see, like everything keeps working, like the Zoom call with us, flawlessly working, video working, like no interruption whatsoever. So you say like, well, that's a great demonstration, right? That's what I want to see.
Right, that's what customers care about, is
Yes.
the actual practical application of what you're talking about. Yeah.
So moving away from the podcast, security architecture.
Yes.
What sort of trends are you seeing?
Trends in the industry. So You want to talk about AI first? Talk about AI
No,
first.
Have to talk about
I think
AI.
let's start. Let's keep
Okay.
the AI. Like,
So
to
let's keep the AI out.
It's special.
You were mentioned a couple of times about SASE and SSE. So the idea of secure active service edge, we have the CASB, we have the secure web gateway, we have the ZTNA, it's all aligned. We see one trend that people kind of, in one part, complaining about it, but the other part not doing a lot of focus there. Email security. Been around for a very long time, been around for amazingly long time, but my personal belief is that email security should be part of SASE and SSE under one umbrella. I hope Gartner will change it one day, if they're going to ever listen. Maybe not, maybe yes. Because the email security is one of the biggest threats to people to get into environment. And email security also supposed to protect people from ransomware, malware, and also doing DLP. Make sure you're not sending stuff out. So we plan to cover email security in the next season, later on as well. And while it's not the sexiest trend, I think it's a very important trend to do email security differently. Email security was always done using what we call a MAX record. So the email gateway will get the information, analyze the information, and send it again. But with the development of APIs for the last, 15, 10 years, you can do it differently. You can connect over the API, inspect the email with Google and Microsoft, and do very similar results without interrupting the traffic. So I think this is one trend that people not really talking about it, but it's still very important.
Right, right.
Yeah. Well, that's the painful topic, AI. I think, like, it's a great benefit. It brings amazing things for us, right? It does amazing things for us, like from driving cars to communicating to writing poems and to making graphic designs. And we all rushing to adopt the AI, right? I mean, everywhere, in enterprise, in our private lives. I mean, we're chatting with AI bots when we're getting service from people. The thing is that all these AI systems, they based on models, right? Models have been learned, and these models have been they've been basically trained on data sets, right? I mean, and there's a lot of issues with these things, right? Both with the models and the data sets, because there is no really level of, like, adequate level of prominence and ability to see into what are they, right? And this data can be poisoned, right? We know that. And this can make the model to start acting irrationally at some point, right? I mean, we have all of these issues, and at the end, we need to be able to get this visibility and transparency in all of these components that build up an AI, right? That's one thing. Another thing that we're really seeing is kind of, I would say, is very critical trend is the deepfakes. And actually, before coming here, me and Helen Oakley, someone who we're organizing together AI workshop here tomorrow at RSA, we said, okay, let's see how complex it is to create avatars and create content completely as a deepfakes. It took us about 20 minutes to train the avatar and start creating this content and start, flooding it on our social media accounts.
Are you saying this maybe not us live? Maybe not
well,
avatar?
in a way, maybe that's the avatar talking now.
I would love to feel important enough that someone could deepfake.
Yeah, that's when you know you've made it.
Right. Exactly. So that's another issue, like, that will open a huge, I think, huge.
I want to add to what you're saying, because you mentioned deepfakes, and it's bring back to identity, like who you are, who we do, because identity it's already very, very important, and it's all part of the zero trust and many other different things. So understand the identity, understand if it's you or not you within deepfake, but also understand how we can create security controls and behavior analytics about us. 15 years ago, you used to go to an office, you're going to have a desk and a table, and you're now going to, the same, and you're going to move from there. Right now, you can be anywhere, so we need to create security controls to understand who you are based on your identity and not just based on your location, your device. And how do we adapt SaaS applications and many other applications to actually understand what you can or cannot do. So there's a couple of different trends, you can go for a long time just talking about trends.
Right, right. Is there anything on your radar for the future that we aren't talking about right now that people should be thinking about in terms of security architecture, security posture?
I think we just spoke a bit about trending, so behavior and going deeper on behavior and I think AI going to help there a lot. to understand what you can do if it's really you or not you, to combine the information. So this is one part. The second part is talk about supply chain. I think supply chain is very important.
Supply chain is a huge topic, and supply chain goes everywhere, right? I mean, supply chain of your software, your security of your software supply chain, right? Like, where you're getting like these pieces of software, what kind of open sources you're using, continuously being aware of what's going on with these open sources. Like we have here recently, like the XZ supply chain attack, right? That was planned for almost like 4 years, with foreign actors that were planning to inject malicious code into very widely used library by Linux operating system, right? And they succeeded at that, and it just was discovered by an accident. Like it was really lucky. Like we just dodged the bullet there completely. And understanding your supply chains, it's not just the software part, it's also understanding who you're working with, because your weakest link is really your weakest supplier or the supplier of your supplier that you're working with.
And it's an interesting thing happened for the last 5 years. We moved to pandemic, unfortunately. We start to outsource to AWS, Azure, GCP, and SaaS applications. So the amount of people you now working as a third party is growing all the time. And we're saying, why would you do it internally? It's not your core business. Outsource it to somebody else. Make total sense. Focus on your business, but do you trust somebody else? What kind of data you giving to them? What kind of applications they're using?
And
inside?
what they're outsourcing.
And who they outsource.
Yeah, right.
So this is, I think, the part that we're not talking about right now, but very, very important as well.
Yeah, agreed.
Before, as we're wrapping up, I just want to make sure we do get in. You guys have a special event here tonight at RSA?
Yes. We have an event about supply chains.
Oh, there we go. Perfect segue.
Love it.
Right there, I knew.
And it's a very special event, I guess, for Security Architecture Podcast, because we wanted to help. This is the third time the event is happening, but it's the first time the event happening where it's not part of any particular vendor. So it's now basically done by Security Architecture with 3 great vendors, Cybeats, Woundcheck, and Code Secure. But the idea is it's not affiliated to one vendor,
right.
And we can bring vendors, customers, industry experts, just to talk about the part, why it's important, and why it's going to be here. How many people are going to have around?
Well, we already sold out with 150 people attending this event,
wow.
which is quite nice. And this is the third time this event happening. It started like 3 years ago. The first one was 50 people, second was around 70 people, and now it's doubled. Hopefully it will double next year as well. And what's interesting there about this event is that this SBOM, Software Bill of Materials, started in 2018 by a group that was led by Alan Friedman from NTAA. And I joined that group early on in 2018, and then it's matured, graduated, and really went into so many regulations like Executive Orders 14208, UCRA Act, FDA compliance, and what's not. And these SBOMs, Software Bill of Materials, they've been required everywhere, basically today. And this is actually the event where all the practitioners and all the vendors and all the people that contributing to this standard, they're coming together to meet, talk, and see each other in real life after spending endless hours during the year over Zoom.
And here's an important part. We mentioned in the beginning is that during the pandemic, people change the ways they learn. They not need to go to a conference, they can learn online.
Yep.
So this is example of the event when you bring people not to teach them anything, just to let them network to each other, let them talk, let them actually understand how tall they are, you know. How they actually look in real life. And it's a bit of a trend. People started to go to conferences to actually talk to people and not just come and learn.
Right.
Because we're missing this connection, we're missing this physical kind of
Soft skills.
Soft skills, yes.
Yeah.
Dear to my heart.
Yeah, I'd like to go for the open bars. So if you want to double attendance, by all means.
Yeah, but you want professional people, as Dmitry mentioned. You know, we're not in 20s anymore.
Yeah, come on, Jameson.
Fair enough. I'm on vacation. Also, speaking of events, we were talking earlier about the ski and snowboard event that you
Yes,
run.
this came as an idea around 2 years ago. that let's check a concept. What if we bring people that are already passionate about cybersecurity, passionate about skiing and snowboard, we'll give them food, we'll give them drinks.
There you go, thank you.
We kind of leave them alone because we believe they will able to find the connection by themselves. They're going to spend the time between vendors and customers, understand what needs to be done. So we did first event last year. There was a group of us, so me, Dmitry, Tony, Jess, Megan. We did it in Toronto. We don't really have big hills, sorry, it's a bump. But it also created an amazing opportunity for people to connect. We had this joke with Tony that it's a perfect elevator pitch because the lift is so short, you have 2 minutes to pitch to someone, and if they like you, they're going to stay with you, and if they don't like you, they're going to ski somewhere else. So last year we had about 170 people, this year we had 210 people between customers, vendors, and again, the idea is networking. We're minimizing the talks to a bare minimum, let people to connect to each other, let them have some fun. We're planning a summer event as well about bikes and hikes. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's just an undercurrent of everything you're mentioning is just the personal connection, and in the how important that is for security as well. You know, the sort of the soft targets are making sure that all you're only as safe as everybody else or as secure as everybody in your supply chains. So where can we find your podcast?
securityarchitecture.org, on LinkedIn. Just type Security Architecture Podcast, you will be able to find it.
Awesome.
Anything else, Sabrina?
No, it's just some lovely
I do want to add one part that we kind of forgot to talk about it.
Yeah.
Last year, we added another show called Cyber Inspiration. And Cyber Inspiration came from the idea, like, why James or Sabrina wanted to do the work they're doing? Why they wanted to work in this company? Why they want to start this vendor? So we started to invite founders to talk about the inspiration to start the company. Completely not technical. We just ask them what they do, and then we dive into how did you raise money? How did you hire people? How did you create a culture in your company? Why people want to work in your company? How do you deal with stress? So we combine the idea of here's a very technical podcast, and here's the dive into the personal reality and what they do day by day.
The personal touch.
The personal touch.
Excellent. And are they available on Apple Podcasts and
Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, any other podcasts?
I saw on your YouTube as well.
YouTube as well.
So if you're going to the what is Security Architecture Podcast, like and subscribe, and then go to Ion Tech.
And like and subscribe.
By all means.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you guys
so much for having us.
Thank you.
So that is Dmitry and Evgeniy of the Security Architecture Podcast. So please like and subscribe, Ion Tech, Security Architecture Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I think we're going to be back at 11:30 our time?
I think so, yeah.
Excellent. So please join us then.